Namaste, my friend. How are you? How many times you were anxious, upset, reacted to people, to a situation, to an event that happened last week? How many times? And how long it took you to return to calmness and peace? You have told me that now it's happening. Calmness and peace returns. Question remains that why during the day, almost every day, we have moments of anxiety, being upset, being unhappy, uh, being in the mood of not not exactly in the state of calm and peace. What exactly is the reason? What is the cause behind it? We don't want to react anxious, upset, but we become. What we do not want, it happens. What we want, we don't get it. And what we get, perhaps we don't like it. And what we like, it does not remain forever. What is the cause behind it? I don't want to be upset with anyone. And the guy comes and I become upset. So is it because of the person outside, or it is because something is built within me, is already present? Your presence triggered and I reacted. What to do? Do I want to react? Do I want to be anxious? Let us first go to the mantra. Eyes are closed and you are comfortable. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. You see, we have a thought that causes the reaction, and now we have a thought that changes that reaction. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Let there be a well-being for all. When I say let there be a well-being for all, and the well-being is a common factor, does that create a reaction or a response? And we have already understood that the state of the well-being is a common factor of all the living species. So question of reaction does not arise when we see there is a common factor. I'm connected to everyone. So the first thing to understand in today's talk is that when I find disconnected with others, I have a reaction. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. You're also saying it. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Let there be peace for all. Tell me, which living being does not want peace? So it means When they are searching peace, they want to live in the peace. The peace is a common factor. So first thing what happens with this mantra and contemplation and reflection, that everyone is searching peace. You are searching peace through the Eastern wisdom. You have a greater responsibility not to get upset and anxious. Others do not know. Maybe in your family, maybe you're in your relations, they do not know what they are doing. What they are doing, they are reacting. Why they are reacting? They also want peace. But they are searching peace through the reaction, blame, and complaint. But I have a greater responsibility. I'm learning Eastern wisdom. And I realize that the peace is a common factor in all. The guy who is reacting to me is searching peace through his anger, but I have to search peace by discovering peace with. So once we have that understanding, understanding means knowledge, knowledge means awareness. So when we have that knowledge and awareness, the mind stops reaction, being anxiety, blaming and complaining, jealousy and hatred. Just think. It demands a lot of contemplation. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Let there be wholeness in all. Apple tree does not feel that it is incomplete in itself. So apple tree does not want to be like a mango tree, does not like to be a orange tree. The mouse does not want to be like an elephant. That sense, that sense of incompleteness is not there. Except a human being, we always feel a sense of incompleteness in us. So when we explore when we explore the cause of the sense of incompleteness, we find there is a ego. When I start blaming and complaining and reacting, getting upset, we find that ego is the cause. We are going to find it out. I'm just summarizing the talk first and then we'll go into detail. When I find that you can give me peace and happiness, I have a feeling of incompleteness in me, and then what happens, my friend? I have a sense of ego. I separate myself from the world outside. Why I separate? There is some I which feels anxious, incomplete. So Master says in this mantra, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham, let there be auspiciousness for all. The entire world exists because of the existence. And that existence, the nature of that existence is permanent peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. Why to worry? Why not to explore? Are you getting it? Why to worry? Why not to explore that existence by which I exist is of the nature of peace and happiness? The problem is solved. That is the goal of the Eastern way. But at the same time, the moment you explore, and you discover that common factor of peace and happiness, love, truth, and wisdom, suffering comes to an end. How the salt can stay in the presence of a sweet sugar. So, just reflecting that when I separate myself, I feel the sense of incompleteness. I feel the absence of well being, the absence of the peace, but the peace is already within me. So, all these thoughts accumulate together and create a sense of the false I. That is what the ego, where there is ego, the suffering is there. Where there is no ego, there is peace and happiness. You have to question. You have to question it, the authority of the ego. So there are many questions comes. Can we work without ego? How can I exist without ego? Why masters are saying that there is no ego, there is no suffering? What exactly is ego? If ego is the cause of fear, anxiety, duality, emotional dependence, then I must get rid of it. When I get rid of it, what is left? Without ego, we cannot work. On the other side, the master says that you should not have an ego. What should we do? So our master removes the confusion that this ego should remain with us like a servant, not like a master. Go to the same question: how many times you were upset, reacted, anxious, disturbed last week? Recall any event and let us explore. Just 2 weeks ago, we covered the talk that we do not know. What we do not know? We do not know who we are. I covered that topic before birth. Even after the birth, before birth, I don't know from where I came. Even after the birth for a few years, I didn't know. My parents, the society, the culture, and then I borrowed everything from the society, from the parents and education, and I started saying my name, my form, my color, my profession. But that does not make it clear who am I. And after death, I don't know. So I'm reminding you, the master says satasangatve nesasangatvam. By listening and learning, being with the teacher, and followed by the contemplation and reflection, we remove the dirt accumulated over the mind due to the ignorance, and that helps us to understand what exactly is the dispassion. Why should I get involved in anxiety reaction? It is because of the attachment, so there should be a sense of detachment. We are living together in the same society. So that is what the emotional dependence should go away. The moment the emotional dependence go away, the delusion over the mind also goes away. When the delusion goes away, the mind becomes one pointed easily. one-pointed mind is quiet mind. Quiet mind is happy mind. Quiet mind is living in higher awareness. When you live in higher awareness, you can give a break to your anxiety, duality, conflict, hatred, jealousy, while living your life from moment to moment. Relate it with the question that I asked you, how many times you were anxious react. So what happened? So that one-pointed mind helps us to get absorbed into meditation, and the mind merges deep inside into the higher state of meditation. It brings an end to the suffering. Satasangatve nisasangatvam, nisasangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischal tattvam, nischal tattve jivanamukti. Let us, we are examining. So that is the process and the method. By knowledge and understanding, we can make this ego as a servant, not as a master. And when the ego is a servant, no, there's no chance of being anxious, reactive, duality, conflict. So we can understand this ego. There are many ways, but it is better to understand with reference to the animals. Do any animal think about us? Our pet jumps around, jumps over us. It's okay. But does our pet think about us? Does our pet say, oh, you seem to be crazy? Does it say, I hate him or love? That I-ness is not there. Unconsciously, habitually, they respond. Next question comes, do animals have ego? If they have ego, then the mosquito will not sit on my body. The mosquito will think and will say, okay, I will sit on the beautiful women. Does the buffalo eat flesh? No. Does the tiger eat grass? No. They don't have a preference. Think of it. You have a lot of pets in your home. Do animals have ego? You see, all the animals, that is why we say ecosystem, food chain. What it means? Tiger lives in the forest, and the existence provides everything for their survival. Animals to prey, have a vast home that is known as forest. They have a reproductive instinct. They don't think. They produce their kinds and ultimately they live and die. But the moment it comes to the human being, I want to live in that house in this. Oh, you renovated your house. Does animals do that? No, they don't do it. When they don't do it, so that very I-ness is not there. So one of the most important thing that I-ness, because of the absence of I-ness in the animals, at least they don't have the stress, the kind of the stress that we have. You see in Arizona, those plants grows which can survive with the less water. It's an ecosystem. It is done automatically. For all the living species, and you can add, including the humans, but specifically to the animals, that ecosystem, that food chain, that environment, that condition is created by the existence, so they have not to become the doer and the experiencer. It is automated, as if there is some chip in their brain, and that chip is constantly working in tune with their existence. Do you see many scientists talk about it, that we have to save the nature and the environment? They don't say that we will build the skyscrapers for the animals. We are trying to understand that ego part. They cannot survive. We want to survive with that ego, and still we destroy ourselves. So it's very important to understand, if I say that all animals, live at a lower self awareness and we live at a higher self awareness. They live at, first, they live at the lower self awareness. They are controlled by the nature. They have a food chain and the resources are already available. Do you agree? Yes. But since, take a simple example. I've been talking a lot about this. Simple example. The fellow's baby is born. The moment they are born, within few seconds and a minute, they jump, they stand up, and they approach the mother and they start sucking the milk. What about us? You have been a mother. What about us? For the human being, the mother goes to the baby to feed. For animals, are they more intelligent? No. They live at a lower self awareness. The chip is already there, it is programmed. But why it is not programmed for us also? We have to make an effort. Animals do not cry, but they search, they find the mom, they take the milk. We cry. We are making an effort. We are signaling, come on, mom. And that very effort grows my awareness. I start living in higher awareness. Are you getting it? You understand that? Their intelligence is limited. Our intellect is free. So we have a freedom, we have a choice. That is the quality of the higher self awareness. Tiger has a limited self awareness. You attack, and tiger knows there is only one option in self defense: attack and kill. Our self awareness says, oh, I can defend myself, I can escape, I have a better way to communicate and bring an end to this rift. See that? So either I can be anxious or I can be in peace. I have a choice. And that choice comes from the higher self awareness plus the intellect that is free. We are not using the intellect, we are not using the higher self awareness. We get carried away by the lower self awareness that has built the I-ness and the ego, and that causes a lot of problems. It's very easy to understand by comparing our life, our living, and also the living of these animals. All animals, all living species, even you can include the plants, are given what they need for physical survival. Forest, other animals which they prey and eat, grass they can graze, plants gets the water and the sunlight. It's what we call the ecosystem. So because nature has arranged everything for them, security, food, sleep, reproduction, all are operating by the automatic survival mechanism, which is known as the instinct impulse by from generation to generation. What about us? Nature is there, but something more is there. 1,000 years ago, tiger was eating the same flesh and still eating the same flesh now. 1,000 years ago, the humans, because of the higher self awareness, because of the free intellect, we evolved. We created better food. We created our homes and lot of things because of the higher self. The moment you are in the higher self awareness, anxiety is not there, ego is not there. That's what I want to talk. Ego is not there, then there is no reason to be upset, anxious. Then you don't feel that you are separate from the world and existence outside. David comes, knocks the door, and you welcome. You hug him and come on, dear, said, we want tea, breakfast, everything. You continue to live into that state of self awareness instead of reminding the mind of its habit, instinct, then you separate yourself, you create a false I, and then you are ready to react. No reaction, please. You already sent it. Yeah, last message I remember. Yes, you have sent it. David's. No, there is no stuff. No David stuff. Nature is there even for the human race, but something more is there. I live at a higher self awareness. Why should I disturb my peace because of any situation outside, any person outside, any time? Why? Our masters is asking why. Take a simple example. take the same example again. That I cry to get the milk. And mostly all the major animals, the moment their cubs, babies are born, they approach. Are they more intelligent? No, they are controlled, regulated. So what is controlled, instinctive, impulsive, habitual, they cannot progress. They cannot get rid of their basic so-called nature. We started making an effort since the birth to raise my level of awareness. So we live at a higher level of awareness. And because of the intellect is free to choose, make a choice, make a better choice. So as we grew, the effort demands I makes an effort. I-ness is the product of self-awareness. Higher self-awareness with a free intellect. To observe, to make a choice, to regulate, makes us different from all the animal species. That is what the Eastern wisdom is talking, that I have to explore that I. So when we explore that I, that becomes anxious, reactive, angry, agitated, is a false I. False I means it does not exist. It appears to exist. What did I say? It appears to exist, but it does not exist. That is causing all the problems. See a simple way. Simple way if we observe the plant life and the animal life. An example of your own pet dog. They are born. They survive because of their own self-effort, because of the instinct, because of the ecosystem, because of the food chain, whatever you want to say. They grow, they mature. So after the physical maturity, they continue to live depending on their age, and they die. After the physical maturity, we have lot of challenges in our life. My goodness, we have lot of challenges. You see, when you find a two male lion chasing one female, they fight against each other. One dies or one runs away. Finished. Ego is not there. They are done. They don't have a hatred or jealousy, etc., etc. It is done by the nature. We have a problem. Physical maturity in animals and humans are same. Both give birth to the babies. They grow, they mature. But mental maturity is different. They continue to live with the same pattern. It's a horizontal movement. Our mental maturity is different, and that makes the difference between anxiety, stress, silence, and peace. I'm just giving a contrast so that we understand clearly. The mental maturity in animals are restricted to food, security, reproduction, sleep. Our mental maturity demands more. What that more? I don't want to live in stress. I don't want to feel the sense of incompleteness. I don't want to feel dissatisfied. I don't want to suffer from anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Your pet dog, mental maturity. Once they recognize that you are their master, well, that it's okay. That much is enough. They are not fighting for recognition. They are not reacting. That mental maturity gives birth to individuality and ego. It's not a big topic. I made it very simple. It's not very complex, but the more you listen to it again and again, you'll look at your pet. They also look at you. It is instinctive, it is habitual. They are looking at you, they are waiting for your action or a response. It is basically instinctive, impulsive. We can bring about some changes in these animals, but not to the extent human beings can change, even if you say so. Our mental maturity, for mental maturity, for mental maturity, we need an ego and individuality. We need a higher self awareness. With that higher self awareness, we have goals in life. Any effort must have a goal. Any effort must have a cause. David knocks the door. You make an effort to open the door. What is your goal? Are you aware? Yes, you are aware. You are free from anxiety. Your mind moves like an animal mind. You are ready to create a conflict, anxiousness, and upset and a reaction. Are you getting it? Mental maturity. For mental maturity, we need an ego and individuality. The moment we recognize an effort, the goals are already there with a higher self awareness. That self awareness is absent in animals. We have started going deeper and deeper. And it is because of that higher self awareness or the individuality making an effort, human being cannot live without knowing the cause of suffering. We are constantly making an effort in our life to bring an end to the suffering once and for all. We are working consciously, we are working unconsciously, we are working habitually. Eastern wisdom simply puts coherently, approach consciously, understand the ultimate cause of the suffering. And this is the way to remove it. Why? So that we can live in permanent peace, happiness, love, and rest. So, since our birth until we develop individuality, or you can simply say ego, that ego helps me to develop an individuality in early years of my existence. It is a helper. is a helper that I know this is the way to eat. Here is a restroom to go. Here is a kitchen. Here is a bedroom. Here is a school. Here are the books. I recognize them. Objective reality separate from me. Ego is a helper at that time. In early childhood, our ego is a helper to organize resources of the nature for security, for pleasure, and other needs. Important. And then comes a stage when ego becomes a barrier, when we create me and mine. We identify with the body and the mind. The moment this identification takes place, the ego starts moving in opposite direction. Sadasangatve nisasangatvam. So the master says, you were unattached, you were detached. Even with your parents, you said dad and mom. Ego was a helper, but now that me and mind was added to this ego, it is becoming a barrier because now I'm attached. I have an emotional dependence. Ego is a helper in the beginning. Now ego is becoming a barrier. That ego starts fighting the world and the existence all the time, and that is the reason we live in anxiety, duality, conflict, problem, suffering. Ugh. Ego is a helper in the beginning to organize the resources of the nature. That ego inside me helps me to recognize the society, the community, the parents, and everything. But now the same ego falls down and starts working like an animal, even lower than the animal. And that's why we have extreme emotional dependence, we have crime and the violence. We keep that ego intact. That ego must go. As long as that ego is there, we will claim we are worthy of suffering. That ego is connected to the suffering. Why? Because I separate myself from the world outside and then I create me and mine. So, me and mine has to do with emotional dependence. Emotional dependence causes the delusion. It keeps my mind wandering. It does not want me to appreciate what exactly is the real and the truth. So, my false ego keeps on growing and growing. And then I continue to suffer. Ego is the helper, ego is the barrier. But here, by single verse, Naham tada moksho, where there is no ego, there is a liberation, there is an awakening, there is a peace. Where there is an ego, there is a problem. But the ego that was developed in early childhood, we should keep it. Minus me and mine, minus emotional dependence, minus anxiety, minus fear. Understanding, living into that awareness. So that mental maturity or a higher self-awareness gives the entire human race to make a right effort to earn wealth, to get the physical sense of security and the food and the shelter. It's okay. But I keep on craving for the wealth all the time, getting obsessed is the work of the ego that is a barrier that causes all the challenges. I will continue to work. So that is why we cannot, because animals live at a lower self awareness, we cannot educate them to be in harmony, kindness, friendship, honesty, integrity, because they give me an aesthetic pleasure and happiness, which is only present in the human being. And that is an antidote to the ego. You have been very kind and compassionate to them, extremely. But I have to be kind and compassionate to David, not getting carried away by the emotional dependence and attachment. You see, ego is a servant, ego is a helper, ego is a valet. That is, I can give you hundreds of examples. So I have to instantly become aware the moment I get anxious, reaction, anxiety, duality, problem, so-called a sense of different. Ego has become a barrier. Let me examine, let me understand, let me remove the cause. Mentally, you remove the cause, and then you are free. There and then you are free. So all the religions also guide us to raise your level of self by being kind to others, by being compassionate to others. What happens? I move my mind to a higher level of awareness and my ego is destroyed. That helps me ultimately. If you are giving charity to the others, ultimately it should help you. It should not strengthen your ego. That is the reason kindness, compassion, etc., is there. But still, the ultimate goal of the human race is to be totally having freedom. Freedom, in that freedom, we experience permanent peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. And that is what we are doing. Our effort, so called, effort to earn wealth, very good. Effort to enjoy the pleasures, okay. Effort to rise above, to have a higher self awareness by which I get happiness by being kind and compassionate to others. That is what all the religions teaches. But after that, the ultimate goal of the human race is to awaken to one's essential nature and bring an end to the suffering once and for all. That is what we are doing. So, as we ride in self awareness, what happens? you are automatically regulating uncontrolled impulses because of the pressure of the society or parents or friends or siblings. So you are dropping, destroying that ego which causes the problem. We start living wisely. When we start living wisely, we live from moment to moment. We use intellect to make a choice that does not create a sense of insecurity within me. It comes from the ego. Sense of craziness in me comes from the ego. No sense of laziness comes from the ego. What is left? You're able to realize your essential nature. Satasangatve nisasangatvam. Company of the real self. How? By listening and learning these principles. I do not know, let me know it. The moment you have an anxiety, yes, I do not know, let me know it. Anxiety is not my nature. I become aware. You start find the cause. Once you find the cause, you drop it. When you contemplate and reflect, you do the practice regularly, you remember the principles. One day, what is going to happen? The mind moves into the cave of your heart. Cave, remember, it's different than the physical heart. This heart we are talking is the seat of my real self. It is pure consciousness. We are not talking the physical heart. The mind naturally moves into the cave of your heart. It finds the real self. The moment it finds the real self, you are into that state of peace and calm, peace and happiness. But in the beginning of the journey, what happens? You start experiencing that now you are not so much attached as you were attached before. And one day you have a sense of emotional freedom. That emotional freedom brings the removal of delusion. The delusion is gone. When the delusion is gone, your mind is resting all the time into the cave of your heart, in the state of the calmness and peace. And when it is staying deep inside the cave of the heart, a sense of one pointedness comes. The mind continues the journey. It is settled in deeper and deeper and deeper to move into the higher state of consciousness. No, no, that is true. But now the ego has become a helper. But still, I have a question that how to perform my actions in my daily life. I meet people who express their craziness and reaction. How to meet those events and situations and the people without losing my calm and peace and joy. Yes, that is what the path of the karma yoga is. That, and we are going to take up that karma yoga in detail, step by step, so that you are performing all your actions. Actions are threefold: whether you are a thinker inside, that is also an action. You are speaking, that is also an action. And you are physically acting. Thought, speech, and action. So, how the thought, speech, and action should be expressed living in the world. Person is good, no problem. But if the outer situation is demanding how to live in that, how to perform our action, not to lose that cool and calm and peace and happiness. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Do you remember the meaning and the knowledge? May there be well-being for all. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Let there be peace for all. Sarvesham Purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam bhavatu. Sarvesham Pur. May there be wholeness in all. Sarvesham Mangalam bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam bhavatu. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Think of this. Contemplate and reflect on this. And send me minimum 50 questions so that we can answer, we can understand by getting the answers from the masters of the Eastern wisdom. Thank you, my friend.